Welcome to another match of Littlewargame. Today I am bringing you a game played on Ravaged AA4 by NorM, playing the red pieces in the top left corner, as well as silverboss playing the blue pieces in the bottom right corner of the map. This will be an interesting match. This is actually the second time I'm casting the match. The first time my recording software was a little bit messed up. The settings were incorrect, and thus the screen was black, but you could hear the audio, so obviously I could not post that video. But this one I can't post because I've got the correct settings. So this will be pretty exciting. NorM looks like he's going for a standard opening with barracks, and then his opponent is going for an opening in some beast play. Typically, what I see people do when they want to go with wolves and into beast is that they'll save up for a second base and then they'll go for their den, where they can pump out wolves. And keep on top of their supply and their economy that way. But it looks like silverboss is going for a different strategy in the sense of wanting to get his wolf out just a little bit earlier, and making sure that he will not have to worry about dealing with this raider that NorM is going for at this particular moment. So pretty exciting. Silverboss now going for his second base. NorM also having timed out his worker pretty well to make sure that by the time the worker gets there, it'll be about ready to build this castle. So that'll be good to see. Typically, what I see happen is that whoever is going for the barracks will build a second raider, and then only then will they go for this castle. And so silverboss is doing a very good job of keeping his wolf alive. NorM feeling the need to send his raider back home to ensure that this wolf doesn't do any additional damage to his own base. So now NorM's finally killed the wolf. He's also going for this second barrack as well as a defending archer at home. I like archers, so I think having one to defend at home against any potential wolf all-ins is very good. So I thought this was pretty good. Go ahead and take a look at what's going on. So yeah, simply put, silverboss has reached the point where he can constantly build two workers at a time. But this is pretty interesting. He's got a fortress queued up right after he finishes building up this worker. So it looks like he's got a timing he's looking for. At the same time, NorM is scouting around silverboss's third base to see if he's gone for any additional bases, anything like that he should have to worry about. So that'll be very interesting. At this point, silverboss does have enough resources to go for that third base, but he's not going for it at this point. So it'll be really interesting to see what he decides to do with these additional workers. He is floating quite a bit. So he's got, half 1,000, so about 500 resources in his bank that he could be using right now. But at this point, he is just holding on to that. Not quite sure why, but he is simply holding on to that. And now, NorM decided he wanted to go for this all-in scout with this raider. He really wanted to see what his opponent was going for in that particular moment. Okay, so this is interesting. Silverboss potentially may have been saving up this entire time for this workshop dragon play, and the fact that NorM did not get this the scout off can essentially mean that NorM would not be aware of this. At the same time, you know, the barracks player NorM is going for a third base at this point, which I think is very strong. It's the same strategy that I like to go for. Once I have an army that can defend at home, that is very capable of deflecting these wolves here, I personally like to go for a third castle as well. Yeah, so still think that NorM should, or silverboss should be going for another castle. It's always good to have economy. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens from that position on. NorM going for his tech of choice. So for myself, I like to go for a church at around 4 minutes before I get my third base. But NorM, he decides to go for his tech a little bit later on once he sees a little bit more of what his opponent is going for. It's also I've played against NorM, and I've known him to go for raider drops at certain points. So if he was wanting to go for an airship and do some drop play, that would be something that I've seen him do before, and would not be above NorM. He would definitely do something like that. At this time, we can see that dragons are in production and catapults are on their way. So it's a very strong position, and I think a very strong unit composition for players to be going for. But this is something that's been developing quite recently. I think I showed a video of Rurks, who's the highest ranked player in Littlewargame, going for this kind of unit composition where he gets dragons and he has catapults, and he is able to use that strength of this army to really go and deal a lot of damage to his opponent. As we can see here, NorM did decide to go for this drop, and so the dragons are here to potentially defend and deter something like this from going on. But NorM decides to simply drop his soldiers in his opponent's main base and force his workers off the line while trying to save that airship. So it'll be very interesting to see what occurs from this moment on. He did lose that worker. At the same time, NorM is going for a forge. He's probably wanting to get attack upgrades. And at the same time, he is scouting the fact that his opponent has dragons and is going for ballistas at this point. silverboss trying to do a little bit of a run by with some wolves at home. So that'll be very interesting. Something I wish. Well, at this point, silverboss is probably more worried about producing catapults, constantly producing dragons versus expanding. So maybe being on 2 bases is the right amount for that. At this point, silverboss is actually on 1 base because he has decided to pull these workers, and he probably has them on auto repair. So any damage that his mechanical units take, such as the catapults here, these workers will automatically go and try and repair that unit. Let's go ahead and take a gander at the map. So NorM has a very strong army at home. Looks like he's also deciding to go for a 4th base at this particular time. And he's constantly producing out of these barracks, trying to get as much army ready at home as possible to defend against these dragons and those catapults. And so silverboss, it looks like he split up his army here with his dragons and his catapults, and now that he lured his army over to the side over here, he is going to try and squeeze in his opponent with his dragons and with his catapults. So This be a very interesting position to play around. And so, as we can see here, silverboss definitely had that positioning advantage in the sense of if NorM would not have moved his units, they probably would have all been destroyed by the area of effect damage that he can go for. But NorM looks like he's deciding to go for somewhat of a base trade. He's thinking, if my opponent is going to try and kill my army or kill my base, then I can probably do that a little bit quicker with my archers and try and kill his base just a little bit quicker. So, first base trade I've had the pleasure of casting for. I would say that these archers can probably do a little bit more damage than the catapults and the dragons can do, just because those archers can do a consistent amount of archery damage and really kill things. But catapults do a ton of damage to buildings at home. So NorM, I guess he decides he's going to go for this base trade. NorM obviously has a much larger base due to the fact that he's been on essentially 4 bases at this point. But NorM also sees that silverboss has gone for this really interesting decision to build this castle at NorM's 3rd base location, and so it's pretty much essentially NorM can't win this game on a base race any longer because he has to make sure to kill this castle as well. And so what he decides to do is he decides to pull his army back home and try and deal with silverboss's main army. At this point, silverboss has done a fantastic job of killing the 2nd and 3rd base of his opponent, and now he's really forced his opponent onto this chokehold where they could really be damaged by this group of units. And so now we finally see this surround that we have with workers, with soldiers, and with archers onto these catapults, dealing tons of damage. And now those catapults do get destroyed. However, there are still 3 more, and the dragons have come back to support the archers and to support the ground units. However, throughout this whole time, silverboss does have these watchtowers in play that do dish a lot of damage out to his opponent. So that'll be really interesting to see. Very interesting scenario. I would say that. Well, actually, I don't know who's ahead at this particular moment. The fact that silverboss has so many of these watchtowers out does make it really hard to go up against this. But as we can see here, silverboss mining. Oh, actually, no longer mining on 2 bases, just 1. But it does look like that NorM decides to GG out and give the game over to silverboss after having lost his 1st and 2nd base. His 2nd and 3rd bases, rather, to his opponent. So, really well played game by both these players. Thought that was really interesting in the sense of. Had a quick little yawn there. Really interesting in the sense of the unit composition that was gone for by silverboss, as well as the decision to try and go for that base trade by NorM. So that was really exciting, really interesting to watch. If you enjoyed watching these videos, I try and post daily Littlewargame content on my channel. So leave a like, subscribe. Say a comment if you saw anything that I didn't. And I'll see you in the next video. All right, guys. Bye bye.